Hi, you're welcome to this coding challenge video. My name is Geekelo, and I am going through the 1 month interview preparation kit by Ankarank. In this coding challenge called time conversion, it's part of the coding challenges scheduled for preparation on week 1. So here's a question. Given a time in 12-hour AM or PM format, convert it to military 24-hour time. Note, 12 a.m. on a 12-hour clock is 0 on a 24-hour clock. So 12 p.m. on a 12-hour clock is 12 on a 24-hour clock. So what I see that I'm expected to do here is to convert a 12-hour time or time format to a 24-hour time format, given a specific time. All right. So one of the cases here too that is highlighted here is the fact that when it's 12 a.m. on a 12-hour clock, it is known as 0 o'clock. And when it's 12 p.m. on a 12-hour clock, it is also known as 12 o'clock. All right. So normally on the time is it's 1 to 12, and 24 hours means that the clock goes twice, right? So usually when it's going the first time, it is a.m. and or yeah, or at some portion of the first time it is a.m. and the second time is p.m. I think when it's going the first time is a.m. That is from 1 to 12. The first time is a.m. and the second time is p.m. But then a 24-hour clock, it doesn't go. It's not seen as going twice. It's seen as going one whole time. That is the combination of the first time and the second time. So when it goes the first time to 12, rather than going from 1 to 12 again, it just continues to 13, 14, 15, 16 until it gets to 24 hours. I think that does summarize justice to it. Okay, so now the input case here is a string. The input value or parameter is a string. So the string will be passed in this format, and I'm meant to return a string, and that string should be the converted 24-hour time. Okay, so looking at this, first I would do what I'm usually fond of doing, getting the function to code pen. So allow me console log every step as I walk through the solution and share my thought process with you. Okay, so I want a string here. So, okay, that's not copyable. I'll just use 12:01:00 p.m. So as a string, it's going to be 12:01:00 p.m. I observe there is no space between the time and the period. Okay, so from what I see, breaking down this, I'm giving a string, and for me to be able to this conversion, like I said, from 1 to 12 on the first round, right, it is AM. And in the second round, rather than having 1 to 12, I'm going to have 11 to 24. So if I'm to return a time between the first 1 to 12, that is AM, it means if I'm converting it to 24, it remains that way. 24-hour format, it remains that way. So, and that means the change or the modification will only come in when I'm going the second round. That's the time that the 24-hour format is usually noticeable. So by that I mean that usually if you have 1 or 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just pardon my time here, 8, 9, please, 10, 11. So on the first round, it is like this. On the second round, it is also like this in 12 hours. But for 24 hours, we start having 11, 12, 13, and that. So my change, right, will be mostly from the second round. The second round, right? The second round. Okay. All right. So that means I would need to find out if first is in PM. PM means it's the second round, right? From my explanation, it is second round. And then I also want to know the time in hours during this PM time. So I need the time, and then I would compare If it is in the PM period, that is the second round, then what will I do? Let's say the time is 3. Let's say the time is 3. The time is 3 p.m. In 24 hours, it means 12 plus 3, that is 15. That's the 15th hour, right, in 24-hour format. So that, in other words, I can see that I'll only need to add 12 to the time. So I'll say plus 12. Now, this side of it, this operation only would be implemented only when the period is PM, that is the second round. All right, I see. Now, are there any other edge cases? I think, let me check back. Yeah, okay. When it is 12 a.m., the clock starts at 0 for 24-hour clock. I think it's highlighted there as an edge case. So when it's more like 12 a.m., so when we have AM, the only time I'm going to do an implementation in the first round is if there's AM. AM is the first round. AM is the first round. So the only time I'll be doing an implementation in the first round is if the time equals, if the time equals 12. That's the only time that I'll be doing an implementation as this. And once the time is 12 and we're in the first round, when it's 12 and we're in the first round, I'm just going to change everything to 0. Okay, so aside that, let me see through. It's only when 24 hours is very obvious, only on the second round, that is PM time, and can only influence the first round when the time is 12 a.m. only. I think that's it. So let me get right to the coding. So on the input here that I see, I have the time, and I also have the period. So how can I check for the period? How can I check that this is the period at that time? Well, the first JavaScript method that comes to mind is slice method. And saying that it's the last two here, I think I would just slice to get the last two values and hold it in a variable so I can use that variable during comparison. Then when I do that, I also need this one, and well, what comes to mind? All right, let me effect that first. So that'll be const period equals s dot slice minus 2. So this will get the last two characters for me, whether they are AM or PM. Well, I'll test to see if that works by console login period. Okay, so while that is running, I just want to encourage you, if you're new to this, kindly subscribe to this channel. Thank you. All right, so the result is here as PM. So yeah, it's gotten and it's stored. So how can I store the next value? How can I store the first two? Like I have stored the last two. Well, I can do the same thing, right? Using slice and just taking out the first two, just the way I did on the last two. But there is a method I would like to use this opportunity to introduce and to deconstruct is to do something like this. Const time. I need the time. I need hours, sorry. I need hours. I need the minutes. And I need the seconds out of what? A particular array, S, right? I need that dot split. So I'm going to split at what? Every colon. So this split will return an array, and the array is going to have 3 items: 12, 0, 1, and 0, 0. And because the splitting of the string, right, takes place only at these positions where we have colons. So that's where the splitting occurs. And after splitting these into different values, separate values, it's going to house everything in an array. And well, the construction here is when we're trying to assign the items in the array to variables. So that how hours will be equals 12, means will be equals 0, 1, and sec will be equals 0, 0. So we kind of constructed the array so that the items in the array can be accessed using a variable name. It can be referenced using these names, respectively, according to the arrangements in the array or the expected arrangements in the array, right? So, well, before I can, okay, let me console log hours to see what we have. But the thing I wanted to say is that there is no colon here. So because there's no colon here, it's best that I take out the PM before deconstructing, isn't it? But first, remember what I need is hours. So I'll check if hours is gotten. At least hours takes occurs before the first colon. Yeah, it's done. So I console log hours and I got 12. So that works perfectly. But I'm not quite comfortable because where we have sec, if I should console log sec, I'll get 00 PM because there is no colon in between. Yeah, you see it here, exactly what was gotten. That I am not okay with. Yeah, I'm not okay with that. So what I would do is split out, completely delete, slice is to slice away, right? And split is to split. Okay, so I'm just going to slice the entire S array or S string, right? So that would be let's say const time equals s dot slice. So I want to slice from position 0 and I want to stop at -2. Or yeah, I want to stop at -2. Okay. So now that I've done that, I'll come to log time so we can have a view of what we have there. So I'll just clear my console and all right, so this is what I have. So I've just been able to slice from 0 to -2. So if that -2 is confusing, it means I just needed to slice from position 0 to any position before -2. Well, for someone who's new to this, you're welcome to coding, or I appreciate that you're taking up the challenge to get around these things. I just want to let you know that you can do it this way, but we are doing this assuming we don't have access to know how long or the length of this. But if you know, so we could just calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7. So let's split from that to 8. So it's going to go from 0 to position 8, but not include position 8. So you see, that's it. That's how slice works. Not include this part. Not include this part. So this is where it starts from, and this is what it shouldn't include onwards. All right. So we still have it the same way. So I'm just going to leave it like this because from my example and from what the question says, it's always going to be in this format. It's never going to be longer or shorter than this. All right, so that's it. So I'm glad I'm able to access these things, right? So rather than using S, I'll be using time because I want to have my sec correctly. So it's 00 rather than 00 PM. Wow, a lot of time has been spent doing this. So let's go to the next step. And from what I see, the next step would be comparison. So I'll just need to compare and determine what should be carried out, what should be implemented every time that condition is true. So that would be using an if statement here. I'm going to check what the period is. I'm going to satisfy the second round condition according to what we agreed on here. So I'm going to satisfy this first before this. So on the second round, I'm going to say if period equals PM, right? If it equals PM, what would I do? I meant to also find out what the time is, isn't it? Okay, but that's not necessary. I can just say if it equals PM, just add 12, right? So let me get there. Time should, Okay, for guys when you or ladies when you type plus 12, right? So a shorter hand is what I wanted to do. So 12. Okay. All right. So that's it. Just add 12 to it. Add 12 to the hours. Pardon me. Excuse me. Hours. I'm updating the hours when it's PM plus 12. Now, what's 12? 12 is also 12 PM, isn't it? Yeah, 12 is also 12 p.m. 12 is also like 12 p.m., right? Like when the time is 12 p.m., it's also in p.m. That's what I'm trying to say. 12 p.m. is also in p.m. And if we are getting 12 p.m., it's going to give us 24 by this code. So I need to exempt that. It just occurred to me now. That, okay, what if it's 12 p.m.? Like it means we're going to have 24, right? So I need to say something. Okay, what can I add here? I could add that if the hours is not equals 12. So I think that covers for that. So it's going to apply this to the hours every time the period is PM, except when the hours is equal 12, except when it's equal 12. So let me go straight or right on to where we have um, the AM. So if period is equals AM. So what happens? What did I say? I remember that when it's AM, we just need to satisfy the condition where the hours equals 12. And if I remember correctly, we're just going to say hours will be equals 0. That settles it. Yeah, that settles it. Okay, so I really enjoy these exceptions. So when it's 12 p.m., it still remains 12 and all that. Okay, so now that this is sorted, the next thing would be to have a way to return the time like so. And I'm returning as a string. So I have already deconstructed this hours main sec, and in that case I could say let result equals a concatenation of hours main sec and yeah, no period. So I could say um hours all right, just copy and paste this hours means sec. That's all. So I'll console log results to see what I get. But looking at something just appeared to me right now. This reassignment, remember I used const here, and you're not allowed to reassign constants. So here as well, I'm also reassigning const hours because this const is for hours, const means, const sec. So I should change this to let. All right, so let me run the code to see what the result is. All right, so what I have here is 12, 12, 0, 1, 0, 0. Now, take a look at this. It's saying 12, 12 because I'm adding something, like it's concatenating it for me. And that's simply because it's taking hours as a string. It's split it into and it splitted the values and returned values as string. It splitted the value and returned the values, resulting values as strings. So for calculations to be done, mathematical calculations to be done, it has to be converted to numbers. So what I think here is after splitting, before assigning, I want to do something to it, and that would be to convert it to a number. Well, rather than doing that here, rather than converting everything here to a number, saying that I would eventually return a string, uh, I prefer to just convert hours here to number. So it's going to be let num h, as num hour, num h equals number hours, and so that has converted it, and I can go on to say num h, right? Then let hours, not let anymore, but just hours equals, now reassign hours to what num h is, but in string format, dot to string. Okay, so I converted hours to number, assigned it to a variable, did my mathematical operation, and converted it back to string and assigned to hours, back reassigned to hours. Okay, so that might have solved it. So let me see. All right, so we have 24. Now, this is not correct because I'm taking in 12, and remember 12 p.m., right? Yeah, it's not, it's adding 12 to it. It's adding 12. You see, it's adding 12 to it. And in our condition here, it stated that it shouldn't when hours is equals to 12. So what's happening? It's because I am saying hours string equals 12 num. So what I should have done is do the conversion to number and use num h instead. So it's outside the if statement, so it can be generalized. When it was within the if statement, it only started, the conversion was implied or implemented only after this condition had been read. So this condition had to be read before this expression when it was within the if statement. So that's the reason why I'm taking it out, so that it can be read here first before so it can be read here as well and also used in here. Okay, so it's out, so it's accessible anywhere within the code, and it's great. So we understand the num h is the num, an integer version of ours. Okay, so that's it. That's it. And let me check that out. So at this time, I'm sure we're going to have 120100. Oh, unexpected token. Unexpected token. Okay, unexpected token. Okay, I think I should also do that here. I should also do that here. Num h. I'm wondering where the unexpected token is, but okay, let's just run the code to see. All right, so it happened again. So I need to check where it's coming from. Okay. All right, so I just took out the third one. That works. The operators, they're either to be between 2 or 3, either like this or like this. In the case where it's all equals, either like this or like this, 2 or 3. So I was having an extra one there. And here I can have all 3, right? Between 2 or 3. It cannot be 1 and it shouldn't be 4. So I can run my code again and I'll see that I have it all working perfectly. Okay, so I'm so sure the HackerRank is going to pass in everything in 2 places, 12, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, like it's just part started. But in a case where I am not sure about the part start, it is advisable to part start. That is to ensure that the value there is in 2, permit me to say 2 decimal point, but just like 2 values, right? Two values, and part start can be 2, and it should start with 0. So in a case where it's not 2, right? In the case where ours is not 2 figures, it's going to make the first value or the first figure 0. So in case where we have 1, it's going to be 0, 1. So I'll just do that on all of them. Okay, to handle such cases, and I'll test again. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. I will copy this at this point to HackerRank code, the IDE there, IDE panel at HackerRank. Note something: converted to 24 hours have no interference with the mean minutes or seconds. It only interferes with the hours. That's the reason why the hours for me was a priority. Okay, that said, I'll just do my copy and paste. So rather than console login, I will be returning. And my reason is okay, where time conversion is called is not called like it's not called without an assignment. It is called an assigned. So when something is called an assigned, it means it's meant to return a value at the end of it all, at the end of all the algorithm, the process, and the logic. It's where the code runs. It's meant to return a value that will be assigned to result. So in that case, I'm not console logging. It is only when it is called without an assignment that I will console log. So in that case, I'll take out console log and replace it with return. All right, so I'm running my code to see. Yeah, that's it. All right, and I can submit to check for if it passes all the sample. Okay, this is a sample test case. If it passes all the other test cases, so I'll submit and see. So we have all the test cases that have been checked. Yeah, there are times where you can pass only the sample test case, and some of the test cases might not turn green. Yeah, you see this? So I have some red, and I have a lot of them green. Okay, so can I check? So I will need to check what happened. What's the matter with these ones? It said compiler error. This is the input. This is the expected output, and it said runtime error. That's just the case. Runtime error. For test case 3, the same runtime error. And I think for test case 8, it should be runtime error. Well, I feel at this point of the code, I am assigning to 0. So I'm meant to assign to rather a number, but instead of a number, or a string. So let me run again to see. Okay, that works. So when I submit, what do I get? All cases passed. All right, so what was going on there was that it wasn't getting any value for hours that matches well with what is expected, that is a string. I was assigning it to a number, whereas it was a string. So that solves it perfectly and all cases passed. All right, so while I close up this video, I want to plead with you to subscribe. That encourages me. Every time you subscribe, I get excited. Yes, I just get excited, but it's more exciting for me that you're watching this and we're doing this together, right? It's you first, but your subscription, kind of excites me a lot. And I'll encourage you to also get into the free community. It's Data Structures and Algorithm community. Is a community I recommend to join, and on that community, you get data structure and algorithm post every lunch hour just to spice up your day or activate your mood before you get back to work. See you again in the next video. Thank you.